should be in the Sukkah. If they're comfortable, if they could learn in the Sukkah, they should learn in the Sukkah. But let's focus now on the obligation of eating in a Sukkah. So when are you obligated to eat in a Sukkah? And again, I'm not gonna keep on saying it just so you don't get confused. I'm saying, when are you obligated? Discuss. We already said the women aren't obligated. Okay, when you get the mitzvah. So we're analyzing for the men who are obligated, but also applies to women, because when we talk about saying a bracha, sukkah, you need to know when you're obligated, when there is a mitzvah, when there's actually an obligation. So when is one obligated to eat in a sukkah? That is if you're eating bread or mezainis. But if you're not eating bread or mezainis, you're not obligated to eat in the sukkah. One is obligated to do Havdalah in the Sukkah. But anything other than that, one is not obligated to do in the Sukkah. Even when one is having a maitzi, is having bread, or is having mezainis, any type of mezainis, doesn't matter what type of mezainis, whether it's cake, cookies, or spaghetti, it's all the same. According to the Alter Rebbe, there's no difference in what type of mezainis. There are opinions that say that if it's spaghetti or oatmeal that's cooked, then you don't have to eat it in the sukkah. According to the Alter Rebbe, there's no difference. All mezainis are the same. But you're only obligated if you're eating a certain amount. If you're eating, it's described as this more than the size of an egg, which is about a little over than 1.5 ounces, roughly estimating. Less than that, one is not obligated. Many Chabad is we eat everything in the sukkah. We drink everything in the sukkah. But it's important to know when the obligation is, because you only say the bracha leisha basukkah if you're obligated to eat it in the sukkah. So if you're having a piece of cake in the sukkah, and you say the bracha leisha basukkah, it's only if you're having over the size of an egg, which is approximately 1.5 ounces, a little more. Didn't figure out exactly, but it's about in that area, a little over 1.5 ounces. Then there's an obligation, and then you will say the bracha leisha basukkah. And as we always know, even though women aren't obligated, they can still say the bracha leisha basukkah, like in any other mitzvah that you're not obligated, and you can still say the bracha. Because even though you're not commanded, but the Jewish people as a whole are commanded. So when you're saying the bracha, you have sanctified them with your mitzvahs and you have commanded us. The question always is, how do you say bracha, you have commanded us? Women aren't commanded. So why are you saying you sanctified us with your mitzvahs and you commanded us to sit in the sukkah? You're not obligated. Why are you saying that bracha for? Because the Jewish people as a whole are commanded. Jewish people are united. Saying you have sanctified us, the Jewish people, and you commanded us to sit in the sukkah. There is a misconception in regards to wine. Every year, over and over again, the same misconception. You say leisha basukkah on a cup of wine, right? No, you don't. No, you do. No, you don't. You don't say leisha basukkah on a cup of wine. There's no such a thing. Where does the confusion come from? It comes from this, that when we say kiddush, we say leisha basukkah. Halachically, we do leisha basukkah because we have a meal afterwards. Havdalah, minik Chabad is, we say leisha basukkah. But that's Havdalah, not when you're randomly having a cup of wine or grape juice in the sukkah. You do not say leisha basukkah. Now, what happens if you're in the sukkah and you said leisha basukkah and you finish eating and you say an after bracha and you leave? You're done with the sukkah. 2 minutes later, you say, I want to eat again. The cake was really good. You're coming back into the sukkah, you have more cake. You say again leisha basukkah? You just said leisha basukkah But you benched, you finished, you're gone. Now you decide to come back. You say Leishma Sukkah again? Anybody?
No.
You don't say Leishma Sukkah because you just said it 20 minutes ago, right?
Right.
You have any other opinions?
Yes.
Yeah? So what does everyone else say? What are your thoughts? You finished eating, you benched, and you're done. You finished. You leave the sukkah and you don't plan to come back. That's what I was discussing. You finished, decided, you had no intention to come back to the sukkah. I mean, for now, of course, you're eventually going to come back. But for now, you finished. You finished eating, you're done, and you left. You weren't planning to come back. Oh, I'm coming back soon. For now, I'm done. Now you're coming back, right? So the halach is that what? When you come back and you want to eat more cake, the right amount for Leishma Sukkah is that you will or you won't say Leishma Sukkah. Huh?
Well,
You will, because when you left the sukkah, you were done. If you would leave and you have in mind, I'm coming back soon, and you have in mind to come back within the hour, that was your intention. Your intention was to come back within an hour, and you come back within the hour, that's when you don't say a new bracha Leishma Sukkah. There's between an hour and 2 hours, becomes questionable, but let's focus on what's straightforward. You leave the sukkah, you have intention to come back within an hour, and you come back within an hour, you do not say again Leishma Sukkah. It's regardless whether you finished eating, you said it after bracha, doesn't matter. But if you intend, you know you don't plan to eat more cake, but when you left, you had intention that you're coming back to the sukkah within the hour, and you did come back. Now you come back, you want to have more cake. You will not have to say Leishma Sukkah. You will see again Mezainis because when you bench and you finished eating, you're done. You come back to say a bracha, right? For the Mezainis. But in terms of the Sukkah, when you left, your intention was you're coming back within the hour. And you did. There's no bracha. What's if when you left the Sukkah, go back to the previous case, your intention was you're done. You're not coming back to the Sukkah. I mean, for now, eventually. You have no plans to come back now. You finished. You eating when you left. No intention to come back. No, sorry, we did that. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I thought it was. We discussed that already. We'll go into the case over here. Fine. Okay. What happens if you forgot to say Leishma Sukkah? You're immediately eating the cake, and then you realize I didn't say Leishma Sukkah. And let's take it further. You finished eating, you're done, you're about to sell a michya. Open the bench, you want to sell a michya, and I didn't say Leishma Sukkah. Should I say Leishma Sukkah now? I mean, you're done eating already. Now you're benching. You say Leishma Sukkah?
yes.
Yes. Yeah. You're saying because you're still in the sukkah. As long as you're still in the sukkah, you still have the mitzvah of sitting in the sukkah. You say the bracha Leishma Sukkah. What if you've benched already and you're about to leave? You've finished benching, you're still sitting in the sukkah, finish on micha. Right, then you say Leishma Sukkah. What do you do now? You already benched. The answer is you still say Leishma Sukkah because you still involved in the mitzvah. The sitting in the sukkah itself is a mitzvah, even though we don't say a bracha just for sitting in a sukkah. It's not enough. It's not substantial enough to say a bracha on it. But being that you were supposed to say Leishma Sukkah because you had mezainis and you're still sitting in the sukkah, you realize you didn't say, so you say the bracha Leishma Sukkah. Now, this is also a common misconception, and that goes as follows. You finish benching. Now, I think now you should already know the answer, but this is always, people's questions always asked. I don't know why. They bench, and now there's dessert. Let's say they brought the dessert after benching, let's say. benched. Now they bring dessert. And now they bring Mazanis, and they question, oh, do we say Leish Sukkah again? And the answer is, oh, what's the answer?
No.
No, because he's still on the Sukkah. As long as he's still on the Sukkah, you stay. If a person stays in the Sukkah, which I'm not going to discuss, it sounds funny to say a lot of these days, but back then when they would sleep in the Sukkah and they would had a Sukkah, they were comfortable, according to Lacha, just stay in the Sukkah, do everything in the Sukkah. So if a person stays in the Sukkah for 7 days straight, it only makes one bracha leish b'sukkah. Now you're going to say, I can say 7 days straight. Well, we already said if you leave the Sukkah with intention to come back within an hour, that's not called leaving the Sukkah, right? So there is such a thing that a person could be in the Sukkah for 7 days straight, correct? So then you say one bracha, there's no bracha again, leish b'sukkah. Now, many times you will go with a bringing on sukkahs and so on sukkah, and you will not eat mezainis, but sitting down, bringing there's food, you're drinking, but you are sort of settling down there. You're not just sitting down for 2 minutes and getting up. You're so comfortable and you're spending time over there. And then it becomes questionable if you should say leish b'sukkah, because you're not eating mezainis. But on the other hand, you are really establishing yourself. You are sitting down, you're spending time together, not only just walking for 2 minutes, but you're really spending time there. It becomes questionable. Because on one hand, you're establishing yourself to be there, spending time. On the other hand, you're not eating any mezainis. So it becomes questionable if you should say mezainis. And therefore, the halacha is you should make sure to eat mezainis. Make sure to have some cake. So you could say leish b'sukkah without any doubt. Now, if this happens to be a sukkah that you're already there that day, you already said leish b'sukkah because you already had mezainis, then there is no problem. Then you don't have. It's interesting. That's how it works. If you're ready, the doubt is only if you didn't say yet leish b'sukkah that day. But if you already said leish b'sukkah that day, in that sukkah, so it goes specifically on the sukkah. Only in this situation do we work. If you already said leish b'sukkah in this sukkah, but now you're coming back later, and which usually you wouldn't have to say leish, which already it's not a continuation to the previous leish b'sukkah. Let's say you will not have to. So over here, you will not have to say leish b'sukkah, because being that you already said leish b'sukkah on that day, the leish b'sukkah includes all the other times that you spent time in the sukkah, which is part of the mitzvah. In other words, let's clarify this. The leish b'sukkah they say once during the day does not include everything you do in the sukkah. As we said, if you left for an hour or 2 hours, let's say, and then you come back, stay in the bracha. We said that. Doesn't include everything. It's not like once a day and that's it. But in terms of the other things that you should be doing in the sukkah, like we said, you should daven in the sukkah, pray in the sukkah. The leish b'sukkah that you said once during the day includes everything else. So the same thing if you're having a farbrengen in the sukkah, which should be done in the sukkah. Maybe you spend time doing it in the sukkah, but you're not having mezainis. So if you already said leish b'sukkah in that sukkah once, it does include it in. So what I said before, that it's better to have mezainis, if you're going to a sukkah, usually that's the situation. Coming to sukkah, someone is bringing. You weren't yet in that sukkah that day that you already said leish b'sukkah. You're coming there for bringing. It's not your sukkah. You never said leish b'sukkah in that sukkah. So now it is questionable if you should say leish b'sukkah if you're sitting down for bringing, you're making yourself comfortable there, you're spending time over there, and you're not having mezainis. It becomes questionable if you should say leish b'sukkah, and that's why we're saying make sure to have mezainis. So this you could for sure say leish b'sukkah. Is clear?
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, you're saying is that if you say the bracha once during the day, it covers everything throughout the day except for eating.
Correct. Yeah, covers everything else, everything's included. Instead of bringing, but it could be any form of spending time in a sukkah, substantial amount of time will become questionable. If you haven't yet said Leishma Sukkah there, you want to make sure to have Mezainis so you have no question. Okay. The first night of Sukkot is different than any other night or day of Sukkot, and that is that even if it's raining, men are obligated to eat in the Sukkah. So practically, Minhag Chabad is we always eat in the Sukkah, even if it's raining. Halachically, if it's raining strong, you're exempt from eating in the Sukkah. Out of Chabad, if it's a heavy rain, they will not eat in the Sukkah. But the first night, they will make sure to at least eat some challah inside the Sukkah.
Some medical goods, even sleeps in the Sukkah, right?
Right. Right. So out of Chabad, we said they sleep in the Sukkah, but we specifically do not sleep in the Sukkah. There's a whole sikh of the Rebbe that explains why we don't sleep in the Sukkah. But out of Chabad, they do sleep in the Sukkah. But even though they quote unquote sleep in the Sukkah, what does it mean they sleep in the Sukkah? That means that they keep the halacha that says in Shulchan Aruch that you're supposed to sleep in the Sukkah when you're comfortable to sleep there. If you're not comfortable because your sukkah's on the street, and any guy on the street can walk into your sukkah, not comfortable sleeping there. If it's hot and not comfortable, if there's bugs, there's mosquitoes flying around, etc. So practically, a lot of people out of Chabad, there's plenty of people that don't sleep in the sukkah because the obligation is only when you're comfortable. It's supposed to be like your house. Okay, so did we discuss? We didn't discuss about the organizer we're going to get to Mitzvah Shem. There's an office. We'll just finish discussing Kiddush. The first two nights of Sukkot. So this is not so relevant to you usually when you're hearing Kiddush, but sometimes it does come up, and it's good to know this. The first two nights of Sukkot is different. One is different than another night. Meaning, even though Kiddush on Yom Tov, open up the Sukkah and you say the Kiddush that says for Yom Tov. But when we say Kiddush in the Sukkah, we also say Leisha Basukkah. And we also say Shechianu. So the women already said Shechianu in candlelighting. But the men, they say Shechianu in Kiddush. So now, actually I'm realizing it wouldn't apply the details I'm saying now. If you already said Shechianu in candlelighting, it wouldn't apply because I'm giving you the order of Kiddush. Okay, so anyway, it's good to know the order. What is the order of Kiddush? The first night after Kiddush, after the brach of Kiddush, the Kaddish Yisrael Azmanim, they say Leishe Basukkah, and then Shechianu, and the second night is Shechianu, and then Leishe Basukkah. That's the order. Right, so the men, if you're ready mention it, and you said Shechianu and candlelighting, you don't say Shechianu again. I'm sorry, I'm just realizing for women it's never relevant because you already said Shechianu. Always say Shvasukkah. For men, we're saying Shechianu. The first night it's one way, the second night it's the other way. It's in reverse. The first night they say Leisha Sukkah, and then Shechianu. The second night it's Shechianu, and then Leisha Sukkah. Okay. So, yeah.
Going back to like regular from like if you're eating a sukkah, you say like Rosanos and then you say the bracha on the sukkah. That's the order.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to share with you some stories in connection to Yom Kippur. I'm not sure how long it's going to take, and then I want to, because if we finish the stories before the time, we could review some basic halachas on Yom Kippur. So there's a story in connection to Yom Kippur with a tzaddik, Rabbi Osdoba. The name of the tzaddik is called Rabbi Osdoba. What's Osdoba? His mother was Sarah. So his name was Rabbi Soros. Soros, like Soros, he was Sarah's child, Rabbi Soros. In those days, they didn't necessarily have last names. They would go by the name of the father, the town they lived. In his situation, he went by his mother, because his mother was a very special woman. So his name was Rabbi Soros. He was Sarah's child. Mother was Sarah, Rabbi Soros. But before we say a story with Rabbi Soros, in regards to Yom Kippur, I want to first explain about a story with Rabbi's mother. What was special about her? The story goes like this. So, there was in a little town, little village, there was a family there, and Sarah was one of the children, and they had a little shop over there where people would come and would sell pastries, drinks, whatever. And she helped the parents with making a living. She'd stand there and sell pastries, the goodies, whatever. She'd sell whatever there was. And one day guy coming all the time. There was now in that city, in that city, there was a village, that's whatever calls that the big city that was owned by the pirates. You know what a pirate is? You heard about the pirates, yeah? Pirates are someone who owns the whole city, whatever it was. And not only owned the whole city, but he also owned you basically. What do you mean he owned you? He owned the city. He was fully in control. He could do whatever he wants to you. So anything he wants to rent something, you have to rent from him. And if he didn't pay on time, he could do whatever he wants to. He could throw you out, could kill you, put in the dungeon, whatever. Full control. Now, the pirates had a son. Now, the son of the pirates obviously was very spoiled. Because the pirates owned everything. He was like a billionaire. And many times that's what happens with children, that they're spoiled. And he got whatever he wanted. And he came by one day and he saw her and he decided he wants to marry her. So he told him he'd like to marry her. It's like, and he come out time to time and she didn't take it serious, she just brushed it off. Finally, he came to his father, the pirates, and he told the pirates that he has a problem with him. This is a Jewish girl and he wants to marry her. And she has a footspin, that she doesn't want to marry him. Who's she to say what? He says, wow, this is ridiculous. He wrote a whole letter. He wrote a letter addressed to the father of Sarah, that my son wants to marry your daughter, and you know what it means? When she gets married to my son, she's gonna have the best life in the world. And what do you mean you're refusing such an offer? And this is you can't do such a thing, and you must He has this letter, he's all excited, he's gonna come there, he's gonna show the letter, and that's it. So he's traveling with all his friends. I hope once he came with him. And they stop off in villages on the way. Every time there's a village, they stop off, they go into the tavern, and they drink mashka over there, and they have a good time. Now, in the village that was very close to the village where Sarah lived, it was owned by a Jewish person, and it was a Jewish person working there. His name was Rabbi Yosef. So he would work, he was a older person, he was a widower. And he worked in this tavern. And they came to this tavern and they're drinking, they're about a party. And then he stands up over there, and this Rabbi Yosef was just taking care of the customers whenever he had time, he would learn. But now the son of the parrot stands up and takes off the letter and starts reading the letter. And all of a sudden his ears perked up, like, what is going on over here? Letter about address to the father of he's going to marry Sarah, the girl, and he realizes what's happening. And he's coming to the next town. And so he immediately gets on his horse. He realizes the danger involved. He's going to come. He's going to show the letter. And if you refuse, it's literally life and death. What's going to happen now, right? What is she supposed to do? He comes to the next town, middle of the night, knocks on the door of Sarah's house. Father comes to the door and he says, I got something important to tell you. And he tells him the whole story, what's going on. His father looks at him, what do we do? He says, I don't know, but I think the best thing is, if she gets, the only hope there is, if she gets married right away, she gets married, this is not guaranteed because they can do whatever they want. But there's hope that if she gets married, will come, and if she's a normal person, she's married, too bad, you know. Didn't get the letter yet. Officially didn't do anything wrong. He just I got the letter, but she's already married. He says, yeah, but it's a little village. There's no one really she can marry. So he said, listen, I'm not comfortable saying this to you, but listen, I'm much older than her, obviously. Doesn't make sense to me to marry her. It was maybe in his 50s, and this was a widower. But just for the sake of saving her life, I'm willing to marry her. And right after the danger's over, I'll divorce her. So she'll be able to marry whoever is fit for her. And so he says, okay, it's middle of the night, it's early in the morning, the exact details is not clear, but we gather a minyan and they make a wedding. And chuppah and standing, and you real married. It wasn't a fake, it was something real social media, married. The party, all of a sudden, their wagon, the son of the party, and all this cronies, all these people come together, and they drive into town. Say, oops, he's so angry. He's so angry. Then he turns to his friends, and his friends start laughing at him, and they say, aren't you glad you didn't marry this girl? Don't you see she's mentally retarded? She's marrying a person who's 30 years older than her. You want to marry this crazy Jewish girl? And he was like, what's his options over there? It looked like a failure. He said, yeah, it's true, that's right. And he sort of like calmed down a little, and then they drove off. Danger is over. It's over. He says, so he turns to Rabbi Yosef, married Sarah, turns to father and says, now I'm ready to go into the big, this is a little village. There's no bed, there's no rabbanim to write a divorce. He says, I'm ready to go. I want to go with him now to the Rav to write a divorce. So she turns to him and says, I'm ready to go with you also into the town. I'm ready to go into town. So yeah, but not for divorce. I want to stay married to you. If you agree to it, unless you don't agree to it, but if I'm good for you, I'm ready to stay married. She said, someone who is ready to give up his life for me, who could be closer to me than someone who is ready to give up their life for me? In other words, basically, what he did something very dangerous, because the parts could do whatever he wants. The parts could get angry. The son of the parts could go tell his parts, go tell his father that look what happened. Be very angry on this person who married his, and then he kill him. So basically, he put his life in her. So she said, who could get closer to than someone who was ready to give up their life for me, and therefore I want to stay married to you. And the next year they had the child, Blame, and he turned out to be this great tzaddik, Blame Sodus. So now you know who was Rabbi Osdoba and what was special about his mother. And now we're going to go to the story in connection to Yom Kippur with Rabbi Osdoba. So moving forward, like I don't know how many years, I don't know how old he was. It was 40, 50 years later. Rabbi Osdoba is a big tzaddik, and he is traveling before Yom Kippur, and he was planning to get to a certain town before Yom Kippur, and roads back in those days, the rain, the puddles, and everything. The plan didn't go as he planned it, and he ended up getting stuck in a certain little village. It was close to Yom Kippur, he couldn't travel anymore. This little village, he asks around, is there going to be a minion over here? There's hidden over there. They said, well, they were hoping to have a minion that had exactly 10 people, but right before Yom Kippur, they arrested 2 Yidden on false charges, and now we only have 8 people. So the babe says, well, now there's 9. They said, yeah, 9 is not 10. She said, maybe there's another Jew in this town. Maybe, is any other Jews in there? No Jews? No, there's no Jews. Maybe there's a Jew that's not religious, that, that went away from his Yiddishkeit and is totally not religious. And, it's actually the parts of this little village, he actually was Jewish many years ago, but then he converted to become a guy. And what happened was, because he ended up marrying the daughter of the parts, and the previous parts was a guy, had one only daughter, and the parts told him, you marry my daughter, you'll get rich. You take me over, and you'll have, and now he couldn't, it was very tempting, and he married her, and he ended up going totally away from his Yiddishkeit, and now so away from Yiddishkeit that he actually hates Jews. He won't even come close to Jew. So forget about it. Forget it. You can't even get him. He always makes trouble for the Yidden there. He hates us. It's even dangerous to walk up to him. Don't even bother with him. So he said, what? A Jew, once a Jew, always a Jew. Every Jew has a spark, there's a neshama in him. What are you talking about? He said, don't even get close to him. He says, no, I'm going. He took off, he had his towels, his kittel, took off his towels, just with his kittel, his white kittel. He's going to that. He asked him, where's the parcel? He told him where, but don't go. He says, shivering over there. And he's walking up to the house. He knocks on the door. And the door opens up. He's standing right there. He's fuming. A Jew has a chutzpah to come to his house. And he looks straight into his eyes and he says, you're a Jew. And every Jew has a neshama, and even if it's one tiny spark, it can light up. And I want to tell you something. David the Melch says in Tehillim, in Perek Hey, Hatzineni midom melikim. Save me. Literally, it means from blood, because David the Melch was being persecuted. But he translated dom as money, because dom means money. David Melch says, save me from money. Save me that money should not, take me away from you. You weren't able to withstand the test because the previous parents promised you a lot of money. That you marry his only daughter, you'll take him over, and you couldn't withstand this test. My mother was able to withstand the test, but you weren't able to. But a Jew is always a Jew, and it's never too late. And tonight is in Kippur, and you're going to be the 10th one. And you'll make the minion, and the Torah says, Hasini Yia Kodesh, the 10th one should be holy. It's a pasuk regarding the topic of Ma'aseh Me'im. It says the 10th one is holy, and it's never too late. You sort of mellow down. And people from far shivering, they thought, who knows what he's gonna do? And they were like surprised he didn't do anything to them. Then he left. A short while later, he came to show this Yiddish Jewish poets. He came, talus, and a talus over his head. The whole Yom Kippur, he was crying and crying and crying and crying. Finally came end of Yom Kippur by Ne'ilah, when he opened up John Kodesh, and we say Shema Yisrael and Baruch Shem and Hashem Hu Elokim. We scream out 7 times Hashem Hu Elokim. And he came, the pirates came to the Kodesh and was screaming Hashem Hu Elokim 7 times with all his might. After the 7th time, the pirates collapsed. He collapsed, and soon they tried whatever they could, but his neshama left. And Tzaddik said that it says in Svarim, it was ready to end at Ne'ilah. Now they want to daven Ma'ariv. Neilah's Ma'ariv. There's only 9 people. Tzaddik said, so Rabbi Osdoba said, it says in Svarim that Tzaddikim, even after they pass away, are considered alive. He's a tzaddik because he did shuvah. He's like a tzaddik. So therefore, he's like still alive. And therefore, we have 10 people. And they daven Ma'ariv with a minyan. And from that year on, every year in Kippur, the tzaddik and Rabbi Osdoba used to say Kaddish for him. There's a story we see just from one moment, just from I lost your whole life, but if the last moment you do a sincere tshuva, Hashem accepts you. In one moment. Okay, this is the last class before Yom Kippur. So if there's any specific question about Yom Kippur, you should ask me now. We pretty much went through all the laws of Yom Kippur, so you know everything already.
Class on Thursday.
Huh?
We don't have a class on.
No, halacha class on Thursday. Halacha is Friday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday. And tomorrow there's no class because of Tishrei.
Oh, I have a question about the Kapara. So
Yeah.
I was reading that we have to do it Erev Yom Kippur. But like, when do they officially start? Like, are there people that do it earlier? Is it available?
So the best time for kaparas is the morning of Erev Yom Kippur, like after 3 o'clock in the morning. That's the ideal time. Not everyone can do it then. And if everyone would do it then, you wouldn't be able to shecht all the chickens. So, especially if you're coming with children, it's very difficult. A lot of people, it's hard to get up early in the morning. So that is the ideal time. But if you can't do it then, so do it the night of Erev Yom Kippur. They already have the shechtim shechtim. It's better to watch the shechita. It's better to be when the shechtim the chicken. It's better to watch it if you can handle it. And if not, in a few days before Yom Kippur, you can also do kaparas.
How much do I
Yeah.
have to pay?
But
How much do I have to pay?
whatever the charge is, the signs, what the fee is, $10, whatever the fee is. Sometimes they have it cheaper when it's earlier, before Yom Kippur, it's cheaper. Like a few days before. If it's Erev Yom Kippur that night, then it's more expensive. They have different prices.
You have to do it yourself, like.
So you have to twirl it yourself, or can you have someone else twirl it? You can have someone else twirl it around your head. So while you say whatever's in the maxer, then the part you say Zeh Chalifasi Zeh Tzmurasi, you can have someone else twirl it around your head while you're saying those words.
Okay.
Is that a problem? Yeah, sure. Yeah. You could put something over your head to cover your head if you want, the plastic or something. Yeah. Okay, Maxim, good to meet everyone.
Thank you.